Good evening, team. This is the Brown Man, and I'm gonna give you guys my survivor tier list for the Kandar update. I'm not going to do it in numerical order, and I'm not going to do it with letter grades. I'm going to do it by low tier, mid tier, high tier. No character in each tier, I believe, is above any other character from that same tier. I believe that each character has their own usefulness, but I do believe that there are some characters who are overall contributing more to the team. I believe those who have more standout perks, even for solo, and even if they don't contribute to the team, they have a really big impact on the game. But most really big impacts on the game are perks that really help benefit the team, whether it be balance bar, healing, damage, etc., and how useful that is throughout the game or at very important stages of the game. So our first character is actually going to be Scotty. Scotty is low tier. He's a warrior. All warriors have some form of thickness. He revolves around the lumberjacks. I don't know why he has a fucking bat here, but he revolves around the lumberjacks. And he has some good damage spread. He has an AoE here. Not the best of damage. The cooldown is 30 seconds. But with some buffs, that will definitely be a pretty good AoE clear. Collateral damage allows him to actually splash his heavies to targets around him, which is just good for some extra just crowd control. Exposure therapy, 5 recovered by a kill, is not bad if he happens to kill a whole legion with his active. However, that's typically not the case. It counteracts a little bit with Elagos, maybe, because they have some fear with their attacks. So if you blow them all up, you get a lot of exposure therapy. However, when they blow up, you might have to dodge or something because you will take damage because they blow up, right? And we have Weapon Master Lumberjack Axe. It's a shame that they don't actually tell you some of the values of these weapon masteries. They should. I believe it's 5%. I could be wrong. It's 5, something like that. And the issue with this character is that he's just an overall warrior, does high damage, doesn't really actually offer too much that other warriors don't already offer. And that's why he's in lower tier. And there's typically nobody here that is going to not be useful or at least impactful as Scotty, but someone else that I will say that I believe kind of belongs here is Lord Arthur. Lord Arthur has some good abilities. Lord's Wrath, you get the damage boost. You can prolong that with Fuel the Fire, Weapon Master Heavy, Weapon Master Light. Both boost melee damage. Pretty good. As a leader, he has access to one of the best perks in the game. On the skill tree, it's Fast Forward, and he gets it up to 15%. That's really good. But he just doesn't offer much more in terms of a warrior, or in terms of importance of a leader, rather, that other leaders offer. Other leaders offer a lot more than what Arthur does. He is a badass character. I like when he goes on fire and he starts slashing things. It's really cool. And his aesthetic and how he is really dope. And I really do wish that certain things were done better, like weapon masteries. Weapon mastery should work a little bit different. Very similar to Arthur's. That would be great. Like Lord's Wrath right here. It works has built-in weapon mastery, but also does other things. Weapon masteries should be condensed to one perk, and that limits some characters' usefulness. So for Lord Arthur, I believe just how his weapon mastery of the Lord's Wrath is built is pretty good. But besides that, he doesn't offer much for anybody. We're going to go into some of the middle tier characters. Someone that I believe here that Ed, a lot of players said that Ed sucked at the beginning. They really hated Ed, but mechanically they undervalue the small things, right? So being able to disable traps kills the EXP, that's pretty good, right? Enduring Light, I guess it's good if you're item hunting. Weapon Master Crossbows, it went down from 20% to 10%. But if you're pretty good at headshots, you know, you get the wig splitter on, hollow points, you can be pretty good. Long shot allows you to stay a little bit further back and actually mitigate damage to yourself, so you're not much of a burden. And if you use a crossbow, it's a one-shot weapon. He does reload quickly with it, but a lot of demons, if it's something like that, like a little bit technical with the crossbow, they don't tend to shoot well with it. So an Ed getting possessed with the regular crossbow isn't that bad. An explosive crossbow is a lot easier to hit, so just be mindful of that. The Collector is one reason why everybody somehow just started falling in love with Ed. The ability to not just increase the chances of finding higher rarity crates, which gives more pink F, but the ability to increase the rate that enemies drop items, especially when you do finishers, and I believe finishers increase the rate already, so you're pretty much getting a lot of stuff. And with Ed, I believe, works best with a rushed playstyle, right? With the Collector, enemies drop items all the time, so you don't need to loot forever. So the Collector allows you to benefit a little bit more from looting, but also allows you to rush because you get a lot of ammo, you get shemps, you get aimlets from doing the holdouts, from all the basic mobs and the elites that's coming at you, and you're just doing, especially an execution on them, they're going to drop items all throughout that. So you should be pretty good in terms of ammo. And if you're sharing a hunter slot, the second hunter being Ed will actually help you guys not run out of ammo. So it's pretty good. He's mid tier for hunter. Next we have El Jefe. Now El Jefe is a good leader. He's just overall good. He has plus range, plus melee, and that is all right. But he got a recent buff to El Jefe, so it's 15% damage as opposed to 10, and that allows him to double it to 30% with El Jefe Grande, which is pretty good, right? And of course you have Old Friend. You start with a chainsaw. Starting with a weapon is pretty good in this game, especially against aggressive demons who will try to find you really quickly, especially on the Kandar map. And Show Up and Blow Up is active. It's a AoE blast that does quite a bit to balance bar. It helps a lot with possessed units, or if units just come out of a portal, you can stun them, and it sets them up, especially if you don't invest a lot in balance bar, seeing stars. If you want to go to other places, it helps you get those finishes off, which triggers El Jefe Grande. Some people, what they'll do is actually go with the saw gun, because El Jefe Grande also activates when you dismember an enemy. And one of the recent buffs to the chainsaw was up for dismemberment. There are no dismemberment skills on the leader tree, so they can also go once again saw gun if they will. And definitely chaining El Jefe Grande keeps damage up, which is great as a leader, but it also increases fear resistance, which is great for hunters, because hunters especially, you know, they want to get feared and they can be capable of just murdering the entire team. El Jefe is definitely mid-tier in terms of that. Just what he offers. Next, of course, we have Cheryl. Cheryl is the standard burst healer, the standard I heal, everybody else gets a lot of healing, right? I typically go extra defense because as a healer, people will actually try to solo you out, and you will probably die really quickly, especially if there's an evil Ash hitting you and you can't end up healing yourself. You need to be able to take a couple hits as a healer, because once you go down, the team can just go downhill. So I typically go tougher than hell. Some people don't, and that's totally fine, because there's a perk here, but this adds almost nothing, but of course some extra balance bar really helps. So this 5% wig splitter is nothing, but it's worth it for me to go to tougher than hell. That's just a personal tip while doing this whole Cheryl thing. And Cheryl has the active ability 60 heals over 6 seconds. That's 360 health healed. Then you have the cooldown of 120 seconds. So every 126 seconds, there's a 360 point heal. It's a relatively small range, but it heals a little bit over time, and it can move. So you can be doing a balance bar move or execution, and you'll still be getting healed up at the in range. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good to also lay down in mid combat, walk up on some melee monsters and just heal them up while they just do their thing. Pretty good. Cola Coaster, you can actually carry more shemps. So Cheryl can actually carry 8 shemps, which is pretty good when combined with everything. Contact Courage, 25 fear reduction. Really isn't much, but it helps a little bit, I guess. I would like to see that number buffed, and then her usefulness would definitely go up. But Contact Healing is something that adds 100 to whenever you trigger shemps. So they gain an increased amount of health, which is always good. And one of the reasons why she is mid-tier is because she doesn't actually offer much as a healer besides just the burst healing. The burst healing, of course, is good at times for a rushed playstyle, right? Because she starts off with all these extra shemps. But over time, as the meta turns to demolishing the book at the end, she loses some usefulness at the end. And that's how I'm going to go through that for some other characters. The other guy that's in mid-tier is going to be Pablo, the other healer. Pablo, once again, oh yeah, one last thing with Cheryl, of course, before I go into that. So Cheryl was good before this patch. Specifically, one of her main draws was there was a bug, and she had like between a 15 and 20 meter heal, which is ridiculous. Now that everything is fixed, she has an 8 meter heal, so she doesn't have that huge range anymore. So that's the last bit with Cheryl, and I think some people haven't really felt that nerf or that fix yet. But over time, that fix becomes kind of her liability. She'll have to be closer to the team. She's easier to bait into attack. Right. So now, okay, we got Pablo. So with Pablo, once again, the 8 meter heal or 8 meter share that all supports have. But he's a amulet Pez dispenser. So gift from El Brujo, as soon as you load in, you pop your chain, you drop it. This is really good for warriors, because once they get that 5th pick Fs in there, they get 2 shields with 1 amulet. One of the reasons why I do prefer Pablo over Cheryl is because Evil Ash has anti-heal. Period. But it does not stop shield. And Pablo, being the shield Pez dispenser, can actually counter Evil Ash. Right? As soon as Evil Ash comes up, if your teammate knows what they're doing, if they're getting targeted by Evil Ash, they can actually drop their amulet along with Pablo's stash, and Pablo can just keep spamming shield and mitigating pretty much all of Evil Ash's damage, especially if the Flautus is not up, and if they don't have like a huge investment in heavy damage boss. And even if they do, it's a significant mitigation that Evil Ash, you know, he's gonna have to either attack the Pablo or I don't know. That's pretty much it for Evil Ash in terms of countering shield spam from Pablo. Just because of the 14 hit combination, a lot of people are playing Necromancer, and being able to counter Evil Ash is really good. And not only that, but also helps with fighting at the book. Evil Ash has splash damage on the book. Being able to give people constant shield on the book allows you melee warriors, those who are just up close, to keep beating on Evil Ash and mitigating the damage, the kickback that Evil Ash does on them. Very good. Infernal Camouflage allows you to be no longer detectable with Demon Vision. A lot of Pablos are kind of scummy players that like to go off by themselves, which is fine, but the issue with Pablos is to be careful not to take the car to an unsafe location. The demon can still see your car on the map. It's just nobody's in the car, so I wonder who's in the car that's moving by itself. It must be a Pablo. And I see many Pablos get soloed out and speared to death because they don't respect that the demon has a couple of brain cells. You should probably park your car a little bit of ways of where you're going, or you should run off just a little bit. It's okay to just run off. Legacy of El Brujo, once an additional amulet. Shamanic Protection. Your shield bar will gradually recover over time until you have at least 1 shield bar, which adds to his own longevity. And when supports have some longevity for themselves, that's always a good thing, right? You don't want your support to die. I run each person differently, but of course, being that I like to add a lot of balance bar because typically I'm in the thick of the fight. So I'm constantly shooting, I'm constantly doing melee. I don't need to stand back too much like a Cheryl. I don't need to hide. I can be up front. Another dude that's in mid tier, I'm going to have to say is Amanda. I love Amanda as a hunter. But she doesn't offer much to the team besides burst damage. Amanda is one of the characters that scale really high with skill. A lot of these characters, you don't really have to put too much practice with them to excel. If you want to play Amanda and use the handgun, that takes quite a bit. You're gonna have to hit those headshots, you're gonna have to hit those consecutive shots, but her damage will scale up there. So her first active is ammo for days. You pop it, even when you have no ammo, you shoot without expending any ammo. This allows you to have one bullet in the chamber and keep popping off without spending that one bullet, which goes really well with Last Chance. Last Chance, if you have one bullet in the gun, blah blah blah. But with Amanda, she can have one bullet in the gun for multiple shots. So this gives her the damage scaling is actually really weird and really underrated. So it essentially gives some form of weapon master to her, right? So weapon masteries typically it boosts the gun damage by 20%. With Last Chance, each shot gets the 20% buff. So she will have, for example, if she uses the shotgun, when she uses that, she's getting the weapon mastery shotgun, and plus she doesn't have to reload. You don't have to reload when you use ammo for days. If she has, for example, a double barrel, you're gonna go pop, 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 pop. That 20% and no reload actually, in a way, balances out DPS-wise so far that I've seen with Evil Dead 2's as weapon mastery and reload speed, because you have the consistent 20% for each shot, plus you don't take the time to reload. So with that considered, Last Chance actually subs in for pretty much anything, and allows you to also wreck with the blunderbuss. One of the main drawbacks of the blunderbuss is the slow fire rate and the reload. All you gotta do is pop, 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 and it's very easy to hit those headshots. Trusty sidearm, you start the match with the pistol, weapon master pistol. Buffs the pistol. Once again, I wish these two was one perk, but then again, she would be broken if she had something else that was quite useful. So last perk is actually accuracy counts. Accuracy counts. It's an interesting thing. So there was a bug with Kelly. Basically, Kelly was having some passive stacks similar to this ability, but what this ability does, for each consecutive hit, you get 2% damage buff. Now, with the pistol, this goes for any gun, right? But the pistol has the fastest fire rate in the game. You go pop, 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 and you get these stacks. So with Amanda, typically you'd want to shoot maybe a mob or two, and you have like a 5-second duration before you lose all your stacks. So you can shoot, 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 and she reloads really fast, so she doesn't really lose her stacks when she's reloading. She can reload and shoot at the same time, have her stacks. And then what you want to do, one of the reasons why she's good, is once you get to one bullet, once the boss comes out, right? You'll have a couple of stacks, or you can get some stacks on them. You'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The last bullet in the chamber, you pop your ammo for days, and you get your Last Chance. You have the Last Chance buff, plus all these other buffs, hollow points, plus the stacking accuracy counts for each shot, and her damage racks up ridiculously. So you can go, for example, on an Evil Ash, you can go 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4 shot, 5 shot, 6 shot, ammo for days, pop, 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 and you spent the equivalent of 7 bullets or 1 clip dispatching a boss and doing some damage to some other mobs for just the cost of 7 handgun bullets. Handguns typically are not competed for in the ammo department, so you can switch guns later on if you run out. But typically you're not going to, because people can just pick up handgun ammo and give it to you. So Amanda is the DPS queen in my book, and she deserves some respect. However, her pistol will stun-lock teammates and will murder them. So you need to be mindful and carry a fast shooting gun when dealing with an Amanda on your team, just in case. Right? Now the next person on the list is going to be Kelly. Another hunter. You can't really do too wrong with hunters if they do well, if they play well rather. And she's like a warrior hybrid, which is pretty okay. I have her built this way just to fit the character. But she is capable of bleed damage, which is really good. It's one way to also save ammo. You can do high DPS on a shot. But since they nerfed guns, bleed damage also went down because it scales based off of the damage that you do. But she's just a hunter, so she can't really be a bad character right off the bat. So her active is slip shot. You activate slip shot, you dodge without using stamina, and range attacks cause bleed, which is good, right? But one of the things too is that it's an escape tool, right? So you'll go, for example, dodge, 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 and then you use slip shot, dodge, 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 and then your stamina will, you know, do its thing, and then you'll dodge, dodge, dodge again. So she can be a very slippery target to hit, especially once again with the 14 move combo basic units from Necromancer. Weapon Master Meat Hammer, you hit faster and do more damage with the Meat Hammer. Balance Bar, once again, is a good thing. And hunters don't have Balance Bar buffing traits for melee weapons. So it's good that she has one for melee weapons, because that allows her to also just add to the team without using bullets all the time. Sometimes when you have common mobs, you're not going to want to use bullets, right? So having a proficiency in a melee weapon is pretty good. Counter shot. Counter shot adds bleeding damage, which is once again good. But once again they scaled down range weapon damage, so it's just not as strong as it was before. Battle Frenzy. Your melee increases the longer you are in sustained combat. And that's why I go typically into Lone Wolf Devastating Force here. Because it allows me to not rely on bullets all the time. You don't have to shoot everything. As a hunter, your goal is to take care of the problematic targets, which will be possessed units, bosses, protect the book, etc. So with mobs, you don't have to do it. So this allows you to dispatch of things and have an easier time. If you're a little bit off by yourself, just facing a couple of mobs, this helps you out in that regard. And of course, with more balance bar damage, it allows you to F-chain or use balance bar moves a lot quicker because you do more balance bar. And that allows you to also get towards an execution a lot faster. And executions have longer animations than regular balance bar attacks, which is good. There we go. Now we are going to go into the high tier characters. So there's one hunter in high tier, which I will admit, although does not have the same DPS as Amanda, Evil Dead 2 Ash is pretty close. Evil Dead 2 Ash has Exorcist, which is one of the main draws. You are allowed to actually banish the demon from a basic unit or a survivor. And this allows you to save bullets, and it's an insta-kill. And it's pretty good when facing off against sometimes some beefy basic units. Name dropping again, Necromancer. And getting people out of 12-hit combos. It also mitigates damage to your team, because if you're just insta-killing the unit, then they don't have to wait for you to just drop the unit with your damage, because while you're attacking the unit, they're still attacking your team. And being able to get the possessed unit off of picking from the Cheryl, the Pablo, or the ED1 Ash is definitely important. Your support at times might be the heart of the team, and against certain units, they'll try to bully the support. Being able to get the bully off of support helps a lot, because then the support doesn't have to waste a Shemps on themselves, especially if they're just soloed out. It helps a lot with that. Treasure Hunter, you get to see crates through walls, very close range. It's good, so you don't have to sometimes walk an extra distance. Saves a little bit of time. I'm the guy with the double barrel and weapon master double barrel. You spawn with the double barrel, and you have the weapon master with the double barrel. Of course, the double barrel doesn't have the best of range. Of course, unless you want to go into some long shot, it does not have the best of range. But for example, you can also take out a artful dodger, go a little bit more in there. But reloading fast allows you to keep up your DPS and allows you to also have a back off tool for when the demon is approaching you. So typically I like to go a long shot because the demon will try to close the distance and find some way, especially the basic unit necromancer, and hit you until you have no time to actually hit them back. For a long shot, your double barrel, the damage will be carried a lot further, so you can shoot a lot sooner when something is coming at you. And of course, banishing and insta-killing a basic unit that's possessed is pretty good. Losing infernal energy isn't that big a deal, but it is pretty good at the book because it allows when a boss or an elite unit is on the book, you're actually allowed to just reduce the time that they stay. Which is, once again, good for defending the book, right? If you don't have enough ammo, or if you just don't have some of the resources, or if you're like a low-level ED2 Ash that doesn't have all the damage perks filled out, Exorcist will help drain that bar and save your team some time on the book. Next up in high tier, we have Annie. Annie as a leader has everything that people need, I feel like, as a leader. Hit him where it hurts, buffs range damage by 30%, Howitzer the passive 25% buff. Guns took quite a big nerf in the Kandar patch, and she mitigates that nerf and allows you to do great damage to a boss. Bosses now can kind of shrug off hunter hits when you have an Annie on her team, and she says follow me, if she's playing solo and pops her ability, you know that boss is dropping. And this also helps with defending the book. You need DPS to defend that book, because right now these players are going for the elites, they're going for bosses, and they're ignoring survivors, just attacking the books. If you don't have the DPS back up to where you need to be, you're losing no matter how well you've done the whole game, just because the book is gone. And to complement a lot of that, you have Haymaker. Everyone in the aura does 25% more balance bar damage, especially when you go into balance bar spec warriors, or you have some things like double barrels or boomsticks, which is pretty high balance bar damage. You do 25% more to basic evil units. However, we have Slugger. Slugger is really is the icing on the cake. When you're objective rushing, the demon does not have enough points to fully max out the demon, so the demon can still be stunned. That 100% balance bar damage to boss units is insane, and especially insane on objectives. When the evil Ash or whatever is trying to solo out that Cheryl to just have the game steamroll through your team and snowball into their favor, you have the 100% balance bar damage, and they're going to get stunned 2 or 3 times, and that's free damage. Whenever they're stunned, that's free damage. And once again, elite units, they're often going to be attacking the book. There's going to be 2 or 3 spawn on the book. You need to stop them from damaging the book. When the book phase, you have 2 minutes. You just need to survive for 2 minutes. You need to have the book survive for 2 minutes. If you're doing a lot of damage, but they're not being stunned, they're damaging the book. All their damage is hitting the book. But of course, with balance bar, they stop attacking the book. So you give the book some reprieve, and you give your team some extra time to simply just damage the elite, and all that helps. And of course, once again, balance bar damage to boss units is super useful. There's so many times where I see players try to solo out the Cheryl, especially the Cheryl. I see a lot of Cheryl players. So she is, I think, the most used support. She's constantly soloed out and picked on by the evil Ash, and she can't heal herself. Alright, Cheryl can't really defend herself. You need to be able to defend the healer, you need to be able to mitigate the damage to the melees, right? Because they're up close and personal, they're taking probably the most damage, you need to mitigate that. Right? Now on to some of the warriors here. We have Ash. Army of Darkness Ash is one of the best characters in the game. I'm stuck between high tier and mid tier. This is the gray area character for me. So with Warrior Ash, he gets tanky with Wise Man's Potions. Damage reduction 30%, damage buff 30%, health restored 250. Fear reduction as well. He gets pretty much everything just by drinking. Shield Blast. Each time you shield loses a bar, you trigger an explosion. And this is why Scotty is in the tier that he's at, because you have Finish Strong. Every time you do a finisher, you get some shield. So you do finisher, then your shield pops, then your shield pops for real, then you do a finisher, and there's no cooldown for this. This is just ridiculous. And Weapon Master Chainsaw, of course, you do more damage with the chainsaw, swing faster, etc. And this is one of those things where he's just, once again, an overall good character. He has a lot into his kit. But he can be soloed out, and at times he does not stop the demon from snowballing, which is why we are going into the high tier warrior character, Henry. Henry is, I built him pure tank. So before this patch, he was actually, Rebound actually deflected shield and health damage. So he was actually, in terms of solo, one of the higher DPS warriors out there. You would do almost 1,000 damage by rebounding your shield and health, and then plus you attacking. So you can solo boss, you can just do whatever the hell you wanted, then pop your unstoppable, drink your shemps, take 2 amulets, you'll be back at 4 shields, and then just keep going for X amount of time. But that was nerfed in the patch. Now damage is only reflected when dude has shield up. Unstoppable is really the ability that carries him. 10% increase to both is not good. Starting with 1 additional shield bar is not that good. If you start off with 2 shield bars, maybe. If you start with 2 shield bars, they're a full, hell yeah. But as of now, it's just not enough. His active ability really carries him. Being able to stop a demon from babysitting a downed survivor with a possessed unit and just picking them up in the face of a possessed unit is amazing. Being able to get constant saves, amazing. These also deprive the demon of EXP. The demon gets EXP, a lot of EXP, when survivors die. However, able to get the pickup, you deprive that demon of EXP. They still get the EXP from the down, but they don't get the death EXP. And then they look at you and they just do nothing but stare, and then hit where you are in an attempt to preemptively hit the person you're bringing up. Henry is a big pain in the ass, able to do many things for free, oftentimes getting 2 or 3 man revives, completely swinging the game from a very clear loss to a struggle to, at times, a win, just because of his active ability. And it can be on 54-second cooldown with quicker cooldown, which takes off 10%. 10% of 60 is 6. Really great stuff. However, all the other perks are garbage, so he's high tier, definitely for the ability to bring games back from almost nothing. He is that guy that you can go into a car uninterrupted, you can stop a save, and of course there are some things that will stop you, whether it be an Allego's telekinetic shock, whether it be a boss grab, a demon dash, a possession. But once you have baited out the enemy's options, or especially if they use the options of somebody else, you are free to pretty much do what you want as a Henry player. The last character for high tier, is Evil Dead 1 Ash. I've been playing him a lot. I played him with no weapons, all the weapons, no gun, no weapons, no nothing. and I have many hours in Evil Dead 1 Ash. I have several hours in others, but definitely he's one of my mains. And one of the things that I think people just look at supports for is their heal. And a lot of people pick Cheryl for that, and I understand that. But with Evil Dead 1 Ash, there's a lot in his kit. In his kit, he has fear reduction without using a Shemps. 50 fear reduction, 60-second cooldown. Alternative healing used to be 25 per hit. Now it's not, so when he's soloing, it doesn't work that well. But a lot of people don't really do the math for alternative healing, right? So let's say you have a Cheryl who does a 360 point heal every 126 seconds. That's heal without using his Shemps. You have alternative healing. Let's say you're hitting and you're healing 30 per hit. Each second you're healing 30 health for the team around you. That's only if you're hitting one target. And if you're getting one hit per second for, a mob fight that's lasting a lot longer than 120 seconds, you're clearly healing way more than what Cheryl's passive did. Right? And then that's not counting if you hit multiple enemies. For each enemy that you hit, that translates to a heal. If you're hitting 3 enemies with a single swing, if you're doing about 30 heal per hit, that's 90 heal. And you constantly do that. You're doing thousands of heals. And then you think about that, that's Shemps that you don't have to use. You don't have to use a Shemps. And once again, that's over time. So it looks like a little bit, but if you're just doing mobbing, you're doing melee, you're doing thousands of heals, that's a Shemps that you're not using. So you don't need 8 Shemps when you're doing thousands of heal based off of your alternative healing alone. Right? And it's like an invisible bonus. Right? It's not noticeable to everybody because a lot of people are lost in the fight, but passively they're constantly gaining that health. Once again, they don't need the Shemps. So 6 Shemps being held is okay, because where it counts, you're not stopping for a Shemps, because once again, a Shemps can be disrupted, but you can trade a heavy for a regular attack constantly throughout, and you're healing quite well. Mark target damage received, in my word, a buff. The damage is not 30%, it's 20% now. However, it lasts for 5 seconds. Everybody shooting gets a 20% damage buff to their guns. That goes for leaders, that goes for hunters, that goes for supports as well. So with me, I have here Wig Splitter, because you have to get the headshots, right? So you get the plus 15%, plus 15%, plus 20%. You're doing some DPS. And it doesn't really matter on mobs, but on bosses, it does a lot. On bosses and on possessed units, because those are the units that you need the DPS for. You can go revolver for the steady aim. You can go the shotgun as well. Shotgun is difficult to miss. You have 5 shots, and you can keep refreshing the mark. Pop, 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 pop. Your DPS is going to be quite high for a support character. And of course, mark target healing. Mark target healing is worded in a very interesting way. And I think it might be bugged. There is no confirmation because this game is this game. But headshots mark your target. It's the same thing. However, follow-up shots from you or your teammate restore a percentage of the damage back to you as health. And what's unique is the back to you part, right? Because you say follow-up shots from you or your teammates deal additional damage. Cool. But this specifically says back to you, so I'm not too sure if there's a marked target bug where hunters and leaders heal themselves, but they heal themselves also from a range at 10%. Once again, not sure if that's a bug, but the wording says that probably they hit and you heal, because once again, it doesn't say back to the shooter or back to them, it says back to you. But definitely because of his versatility and his ability to actually have increased damage, and once again, protecting the book. a possessed unit is on you, he has a back off tool. He can handle himself fairly well. And once again, he has the built-in extra damage and built-in heal to mitigate the damage that he takes. And the book is one of the most important phases right now, because that's where most games are lost. They're going to have a flautist running around, or they're going to have the elites just taking shits on the book, and you need to dispatch that elite. You need to dispatch that boss. That boss has the last point invested in them. They can't get stunned. You need to DPS them. You need to get them off the book. You need to kill them. And having the extra 20%, especially with the hunter, especially with when you have someone like an Annie, they're going to drop. And that's why I believe Evil Dead 1 Ash is the best support character in the game, and he's top tier. He provides everything, and he doesn't have to crumple and die. So those adjustments to his mark target damage and mark target healing, staying on for 5 seconds, is definitely a meta buff that really helped him out, and he's underrated, I feel like, in many people's opinion. But these are just my thoughts and just my opinions. If you have any comments, concerns, you can be sure to comment your concerns on the YouTube video further down below, alright? Have a good one. Be safe.